And in the meantime, there's, I know we're running short on time here, but I wanted to get this in. There was this guy in Toronto who ended up killing 8 women and 2 men and critically injuring 16 others. And he was one of the self-described incels, the involuntary celibates. And,
oh, gosh.
And, you know, for them, Elliot Rodger, the guy that killed those people in California, he was...
yeah, he had the manifesto, right?
Yeah, he had the manifesto. And, yeah, so these are the guys who, they believe they are entitled to sex. And they actually have journalists defending this. And one guy, he's an academic at George Mason University, who is basically saying, oh, well, we need to understand this is a legitimate problem. And I was like,
I would say they're a legitimate problem.
They are a problem, but not.
But I probably don't mean what he's thinking.
But their inability to get sex is not a legitimate problem for me.
Right. Right.
Not my problem.
Yeah.
The biggest way.
So, yeah, and people are pointing out that it's like, hey, if these guys would, you know, come out of the house and maybe, like, attend to their hygiene and act like not creepy stalkerish toward people. Maybe.
And not say, I don't know why I can't get a date because I don't swear around women's.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like maybe if you just treated them like people.
I paid for your drink. You have to fuck me now. You know?
You owe me.
Yeah. But, yeah, this is the same kind of, you know, entitled shit. Yeah, there's a guy that there's actually something called the redistribution of sex that posits the idea that sex is a redistributable resource.
What?
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
They basically, yeah, they want to make sure that these guys are
means
getting
that
laid. Because
consent
obviously that's the
doesn't
problem, is that they're not getting laid. They wouldn't have these terrible misogynistic attitudes if they just got some sex.
I'm sorry, but you can go down to, like, anywhere and look at couples walking by, and there's nobody that can't get laid. Right? Right. It's like if you're having trouble getting laid, there's almost nothing you can name, because I can point to somebody that's holding hands with somebody else walking down the street that is in that category. It's like, it is not because of this, it is not because of that, you know. And so at a certain point, it comes down to self-examination, I think, right? And I can remember, I'm going to tell a harsh story about myself, right? I was sitting talking to somebody, and I was very much mocking someone that I felt was very sexist, and I said something about, like, yeah, you know, and he wants to be married, and, you know, he's in his 30s and blah, 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 and I was blah, blah, blah. And, you know, you should be asking yourself at a certain point, is it every woman in America or is it me? And then I kind of stopped and I thought about it, and I was like, you know, at the time I was kind of like, well, I might like to be married, and I'm in my 30s and I'm not married. So wait a minute, what the heck, you know? And so that's when I started thinking, like, well, what is it that I want? But I got introspective. I never went, see, and that was the thing. It was like this guy that we were kind of making fun of had this thing where it was like all women in America. He was like doing the foreign bride thing. And it's just like, and I was kind of, you know, like, this is funny. It's, you know, every woman in America. And we were just talking earlier about the subcultures, right? There's Italian Americans, there's European Americans, there's like Korean Americans, or, you know, here in Austin all the time, there's like big Korean, you know, group of people. And so we have all these different subcultures here in the U.S., but every woman in America is like somehow homogenously like undateable and you know, can't work for you. And so I'm just like, yeah, at some point you have to say it's not, you know, a billion women. It's something that maybe you need to do some introspection, right? And I had to do that introspection. I had to look at myself and say, okay, so wait a minute. If I'm serious, like if I seriously want to get married, you know, what would I have to do? And so I thought about it, and I was like married in no time. Yeah, it's just like, but it means looking at yourself sometimes, right? And that's the thing. It's like, if I really want to have a romantic relationship with somebody, which, you know, I mean, you can get sex by paying for it, right? So it's not legal, but it's like, you know, plenty of people do it, so it's there. But if you're really looking at, I want someone to consent to sex with me without me paying money for it, you're going to have to stop and ask yourself, you know, what am I putting forward that would or wouldn't, you know, result in my goal? Like, how do I achieve this goal? And it's not necessarily about the other person. Sometimes it's about looking at ourselves. And I know that this can be the case. I have one friend who's has very, very sparse sexual history, Right? It's a guy, and he's got a really sparse sexual history. But to this day, he's just like, yeah, I know this is me. You know, this is about me, and this is not about like other people. Like I've seen way too many other people, like of all walks of life, hooking up, and it's not hard. It's not a hard thing to hook up. It's just for whatever reason I have trouble with this. Knew another guy who didn't end up going on a date until he was like almost 40. I guess he was 40 when he went on his first date. Ended up marrying the first girl that he went with, and as far as I know, everything was fine for a long time. I don't keep in touch, but they were fine. Last I heard, I think they had a baby and a couple dogs, and everything was going good. You know, but it's just some people are late bloomers, whatever. But it's not going to be about other people. When there's something not working out with me and everyone else, me and every man, me and every woman, me and then maybe, you know, it's at a certain point you have to stop and say, what is the common denominator?
Right.
And that is so hard for people.
Oh, see, that's the thing. If you draw,
because it can't possibly be me.
Right. Yeah, there's the Venn diagram of it. You've got all this introspective wonderfulness, and then you have the sort of person who needs to do it, and they are just mutually exclusive.
Well, and the thing is, ultimately, working on ourselves is harder and more painful than it is blaming other people for
It seems
stuff.
that way at first, but I find that it's super empowering.
Yes,
it
Because when you say to yourself, there's something going on with me, suddenly I have 100% of the power to fix it.
Right.
Yep.
I can't fix other people,
Right.
but I can fix me.
Yeah.
Right? I can change things about me. I can work on myself. I can go to therapy. I could take medications, or I could, you know, and I'm not saying that every person's issues can be fixed. I know there are people that struggle with issues that are not fixable, but my attitudes toward other people and my presentation toward other people and my respect for other people is definitely something I can work on.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh my God, that was just brilliant.